It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive radio experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's automotive radio show, Test Miles. Locally created, nationally celebrated, we've assembled a team of crack automotive know-it-alls to help us through the next 60 minutes of radio. Our producer, Sean Walker, Old Man Brad, Zen the intern, and, of course, Oli the Volvo Viking seller. Or maybe he's the Viking Volvo seller. We never know. What's going on this week's show? Well, we're glad to be back in the studio. Let's talk about cars that we've been driving over the last week. Got to experience the Rolls-Royce Ghost for a few days. They don't tend to let me have it for more than a week, but I drove it around for a few days, and they have a cap on the amount of mileage you can do on Rolls-Royces. I think it's 300 miles.
How much did you go over it?
I had done 300 miles by the end of the first day. So there you go.
I made you chauffeur me around in it. It was fun.
Right, sorry, Rolls-Royce, about all the shenanigans, but I'm sure it'll be one less loan at the other end.
I'm sure it was just a guideline, not a rule.
Yeah, rules are there to be broken. Four-door large sedan, comfortable cabin, a strong twin-turbo V12, not a W12 like the Bentley version, but it has a V12. And silk smoothie ride would be an understatement about this vehicle. Truly a car of, let's say, epic proportions. Love this vehicle. The price of the vehicle. Everyone's sitting down. Everyone want to sit down? So it starts about $289,000. This one was, I'd say, fairly north of that price. 382.
I think it was 382,000.
Yeah, it was an expensive vehicle.
You know, you could get the base model and hire me to drive you around for that extra charge.
You don't get a base model on a Rolls Royce.
Well, the 280-something was the base model. Pay me $100,000 and I'll drive you around.
Did you hit your head really hard? What's wrong with you? The one thing about this car, which is just unbelievable. I mean, I could go on for hours, but handmade, coach doors. So that means they open like the old coaches. Umbrellas in the doors. Sorry, Joel Feder, by the way. Joel Feder, who's a local auto journalist, had the car after me, and it had been raining, and I took the umbrella out to use it, and out of the driver's side door, and helped someone to get to their car so they weren't getting wet. And, of course, you don't put it back wet. I left it on the porch, and Joel calls me and goes, "Hey, do you have an umbrella for the Rolls-Royce?" By the way, those umbrellas for the Rolls-Royce are probably worth the same as a regular car. Just the umbrella part. If you think of $382,000, we always like to say that's worth as much as my house. That's probably worth as much as two of my houses.
Well,
that's how expensive the car is. Because
when we were doing our best Christmas gifts for the guy or whatever, didn't they tell us like they have a picnic basket that's worth $25,000?
Oh, $32,000.
32, excuse me. We're just like, you could buy a whole car.
Better have a really nice bottle of bourbon in there. If that's the case.
I don't think it comes with any perishables. I think
it's just a picnic
that's just
basket.
a picnic basket. All right, let's talk a little more about the car. So it is a bit of a gas guzzler, unfortunately. Surprising amount of wind noise in this vehicle is the bad thing about it. But you enter the cabin, it's just pretty unbelievable. 6.6 liter V12, 563 horsepower, a ZF 8-speed. Transmission, and it has their new thing where the transmission actually uses the GPS to decide what gear it's going to be in. So it looks ahead and goes, there's lots of curves. I'm not going to change up too much. I'm going to keep it in a lower gear as you go around the curves. Very cool. Rear wheel drive, the miles per gallon, 20 on the highway, of course. What does it compete with? At a push, maybe an S-Class, but maybe 8 S-Classes. And the Flying Spur is probably the Bentley it competes with. Trim levels, who cares? Just put, it's all bespoke. I'll have it this color, that color. They'll do whatever you want to the car, basically, is within reason. And that price of $382, which is the one we were driving. Base price $289. So it had. It had almost $100,000 of options.
So what kind of
just get the base and drive, and I'll drive you around.
I mean, what kind of options are you actually getting for $100,000?
I think the leather is chewed. It's chewed by someone to soften it. I don't know. It's clearly a lot of.
You know what it is?
I'll choose some leather for $100,000.
It's made out of the deflated New England Patriots footballs.
I see.
I had to go there.
There you go. What else have I been driving this week? Slight change, but also a very impressive car, the Mazda CX-3. This is a 5-door subcompact CUV, Excellent fuel economy, sporty handling, quiet at speeds, high-quality interior, and appealing features. A snug rear seat is probably one of the downsides, and a humble cargo capacity. 2-liter, 4-cylinder, 148 horsepower. Love this vehicle, by the way. As far as subcompact SUVs go, this is definitely on my list of favorites. You can get it front wheel or all-wheel drive. If you're thinking about a small SUV, CUV, please go test drive the Mazda CX-3. Highly impressed. 31 miles a gallon, 29 city. That's the combined 29 city, 35 highway. 35 miles a gallon highway. That's incredible. What does it go up against? The Honda HR-V, Jeep Renegade, Chevy Trax, Nissan Juke, and the Fiat 500X. It has three different trim levels: sports, touring, and grand touring. Starting price, maybe we'll work this out. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 4, 8. You could get 12 of these for the price of that Rolls Royce. Starting price $21,190 for that. Sean, what have you been driving?
I've been driving the Kia Sedona SX Limited, a multi-purpose vehicle. It's what Kia's calling it, not a minivan. I'm not really a big multi-purpose vehicle, but I like it. It's so comfortable to actually drive this thing and easy to get around. It's hard not to like, even though it's a minivan.
It's probably it's a reasonable price too, right?
Well, you can start at $25,000, but topping them out where you get it to where you want is $40,000.
It's still probably about $8,000 less than the competition.
Possibly. Depending on, it doesn't go up against much because there's only 5 people that actually have minivans now. Not Durango, but the Dodge Caravan, Chrysler, Honda, Toyota. They're the only people now who have minivans even out there.
Yeah.
It's just sad. It's a dying thing. One of the cool
Brad's
features.
Actually wiping his eyes with a tissue as we speak.
We've actually gone to my wife said no on the minivan, and it's a 3-row SUV.
You guys are growing up so fast.
We are.
Can't handle it. Sorry, Sean, go on.
It's all good. Minivans have a bad rap because of the soccer mom thing, but they're actually comfortable to drive and useful once you actually have one. I can't believe how much cargo space is actually in there once you fold all the seats down. You get almost a whole living room set in there.
Right.
But
sounds like you moved a friend.
Yeah. Well, when you got trucks and minivans, people always call you to move something.
All right.
One of the cool features I do love about this Kia is that they have a power key lift gate where instead of you just walk up and the lift gate actually opens, it senses the key. If you stand there for 2 seconds, the door actually opens. So you don't have to lay something down or try to wave your foot under the bumper to try to get the gate to open. It's pretty smart. I actually like this. I recommend it. Not great on gas mileage, but no third row really
Nice,
is.
Bradley.
So I had a couple of weeks off, church and all sorts of other family things. And I had a couple of Mitsubishis back to back. One I liked, one was less than substantial.
Let's start with which one you can do first.
I'll do the Lancer, which is it's redone. It's great. It's the 7th year for this vehicle, and unfortunately, it's still like 2 years behind everybody else.
Right.
So it's new for them, but 2 years behind. So the base model is really well behind the competitors. Now the upper levels with the turbocharged engine, the all-wheel drive, the Rally Art, and the Evo are really fun to drive. However, that wasn't sadly the car that I drove. And this Lancer is just stark on the interior. Its base price is $17,395. I drove the GT that was all the way up to $27,000. But the one I loved was the Outlander GT. It's a 3-row SUV that, for a value, it's great value in the $20,000 range.
I do like that Outlander.
Yeah,
They've
very
done a
much.
Good job. So you would buy the Outlander over the Lancer?
I would buy the Focus, Civic, Sentra, Corolla, Mazda 3 over the Lancer.
Sorry, Mitsubishi, you can't win everyone. I know you win quite a lot of them. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Sean. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the new Ford Explorer Platinum Edition. That is, I drove it across Canada. Was there for 4 days. We'll be talking to Matt Silk from Ford, Zilk, and he'll be telling us all about the new Ford Explorer Platinum Edition. Coming up on Test Miles, I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
You're with Test Miles. If it has a throttle, we'll talk about it. For all the latest automotive news, follow us at Twitter, Test Miles.
Hey, good morning. So I don't know if you knew Henry Ford was well ahead of his time with the minimum wage, but in 1914, Ford offered its employees double the current market average on their salary to $5 a day, which was then called the new salary.
We'll have to ask our next guest about that, whether they're still getting $5 a day. You're with America's Automotive Radio Show, Test Miles. Let me just tell you, they have sold 7 million of them worldwide. It has been a dominant force in the SUV market. It's been the number one selling vehicle in its class for the last few years. It is preferred a vehicle of police forces around the country, around the U.S., and now they have a new version with very exciting Platinum Edition. Of course, I'm talking about the Ford Explorer. And I just spent 4 days in Canada, drove the new vehicle from Kamloops all the way to the Olympic Village in Calgary. To tell us more about the new Ford Explorer, the jewel in their crown, is Matt Zulk. Matt is from the Ford Explorer team. Matt, welcome to the show. Did you enjoy your trip in the new Explorer?
We had a blast, Nick. I appreciate having us on. What a fun trip just to get Explorer out on the open road and do those adventures, and it was really cool to see you out there with us. One
of the things, Matt, that I kept saying about the car, and I felt in a sense, too, that I was being disrespectful when I said this, but once you get on the road, you kind of forget the car. The SUV. It's built so well, and it manages the situations of the Canadian Rockies so well that it's all about enjoying the trip. But when I started to talk to the Ford team about that, they said that's exactly why we built the Platinum Edition the way we did, to be there for the adventure. So you forget about the vehicle and you just have the adventure, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's still 100% SUV, but we took it to a premium space that we haven't gone before on Explorer. So wrap you in the premium materials, wrap you in the creature comforts, and just have a heck of a fun drive. But like I said, it's still all SUV, and you remember William Matisse up there. We actually went off-roading a little bit through a construction site that maybe we weren't supposed to be in, but we had an absolute blast after putting it in mud mode, and got the Platinum Series nice and dirty, but came out shiny on the back end because it was a heck of a fun experience.
All right, so tell me how the Platinum Edition is different from the regular editions of the Explorer.
Yeah, so today we've got a base Explorer, an XLT, a Limited, and a Sport, and that's what's selling today for 15 model year. And now for 16, we add, as you said, the Crown Jewel for Platinum. So it's essentially our Limited series, which is all the luxury appointments plus all of the technologies, like the driver assistance technologies, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, you name it, plus our Sport series, which has the 365 horsepower twin-turbo EcoBoost E6. So we essentially take the Limited and take the Sport and pull them together into Explorer's best series. And if you like Explorer and you want everything, you check one box and you get the Platinum Explorer.
Right. What I like about the point that this vehicle is, there's only really one. I mean, you could obviously put a lot of aftermarket stuff, or you could put a lot of stuff that you get add-ons from the dealer, but there's only one real option in the vehicle, and that is either the bench or the bucket seats.
Yeah, you got it. So we may, as we get into market, and if we understand that our customers are checking the box for the buckets at a very high rate, we might just standardize those too. But we wanted to keep Explorer the 7-pass version that everybody knows. If they do need some extra carrying capacity for those kids or family and friends. But again, if you want the 6-passenger with the buckets that allow a pass through to the third row, then you can certainly get that as well.
Let's talk about something that a couple of things I think that's important. I've owned an Explorer. I do really love these vehicles, but one of my challenges with the last edition of the Explorer, the previous version, was the fact that the rear seat room was limited. That's not the case in this one, is it?
That's right. Yeah, we do actually have best-in-class legroom. So if you do need to sit in that third row, whether it's an adult or kids, you've got plenty of space. I'm 6'5", and believe it or not, I fit back there pretty darn well. So compared to some of the other segment competitors, I think you'd be a lot more comfortable in the back of the Explorer.
Now, some of the options that come with this vehicle are pretty impressive as well. You have the self-parking feature, but you also have these cameras up front and in the rear that are washable as well.
Yeah, those are really cool. Hopefully you got to play with those a little bit. But we have a front, we call it the 180-degree camera. So there's two modes, either a front-facing camera in what we call the standard mode, or you can push the button a second time on the dash to get a 180 view that really helps you see left and right in a full 180-degree plane around the front of the vehicle. So if you're nosing out into traffic or down a tight alleyway, you can understand if there's pedestrians or other cars coming left or right of you. And obviously, you guys are up in the Pacific Northwest, where in Detroit here, you get road salt, you get snow, you get whatever else on the lens. You don't have to worry about getting out there and rubbing the lens off with your thumb. We've got a high-pressure washer that'll do that for you from the comfort of the vehicle.
And I like that point because often I turn on those cameras and, of course, you can't see anything if you've been through a mud puddle or if you're going through some snow because they get dirty. Intelligent four-wheel drive, how is that different from regular four-wheel drive?
Yeah, we kind of take the guesswork out of it for the customer. So we call it the terrain management system, intelligent four-wheel drive with terrain management. So we have a dial in the vehicle that allows you to dial in to your terrain, be it mud, like William and I were doing in the off-road on that construction site, snow or sand. And that really sort of regulates the wheel slip that's allowed at the vehicle depending on the surface that you're driving on. And like I said, takes the guesswork out of it for the customer. They don't have to interact with that dial. The four-wheel drive system is always there to engage. But if you are on a very specific surface and need some extra traction, you can certainly dial it in as well.
I love that part of it because sometimes you don't really know if you should have been changing what the vehicle's settings are. This way, the vehicle does the thought for you. One of the other things I really noticed about the vehicle in driving it is the steering is extremely light on the inside. Now, this is a very heavy vehicle. Even though you guys have worked extremely hard on reducing weight, and a lot of the things on the vehicle have been there to reduce the weight, it's still a very big vehicle, full-size SUV. But steering it was almost intuitive. I mean, the vehicle sort of goes where you want it to go, and you're not having to rack on the wheel just to get it to move from side to side or around tight corners.
Exactly. I'm glad to hear you say that. Our vehicle dynamics team worked really, really hard, as you said, to deliver that driving experience. We have a little bit different experience on our sport model that would have a bit of a tighter ride and handling feel. But on the Platinum model, we wanted to give a bit of a more luxurious and refined feel, but not making it too loose, if you know what I mean. So it still feels like you're one with the road and very much in contact with the road, but it's a nice effortless steering.
One of the things, Matt, I really did love about the vehicle is, and I have to ask you, you must have spent a lot of time on reducing all the noise from the exterior on this vehicle, because riding on the inside, it was purely just, in freeway driving, just taking in the beauty of the Rockies, driving over some of the most beautiful mountains that are available to see in North America, yet the interior cabin noise in the vehicle seems to be almost non-existent.
Yeah, again, our team worked extremely hard there. Our noise, vibration, and harshness team have dialed this into the quietest Explorer we've ever made. So it's something we really take pride in, but that's the whole point, is get rid of the exterior noise. We don't want to hear the wheel noise or the road noise or the wind noise, and just have fun on the inside of the vehicle, enjoying that premium material that you're surrounded in, and then that Sony audio system, too, that I hope you got a chance to experience. Crank that up to 11 and just have a fun time, because it's 500 watts and industry exclusive and a heck of a lot of fun to listen to.
That was going to be my next question, but you already answered it. Great new Sony system. All right, final mark from you here, Matt. Tell me when these will be in showrooms.
Yep, the Explorer is on sale as we speak. The Explorer Platinum is coming in about a week or so go out and take a look at it at your local dealer and have a lot of fun with that vehicle.
You're a good man. Thanks for your entertainment, your hospitality, and your experience in Canada. Definitely on my must-test drive list. We're talking about the new Ford Explorer here on Test Miles. Coming up, we have a celebrity in our midst. He'll be in studio with us. That's next on Test Miles.
And coast in with testmiles.com.
Live from our studios in downtown Portland on a Sunday morning. This is America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, go to our Facebook page, Test Miles ENT.
Here's a fun fact that you can impress your friends with. 19 girls, students, fit into one smart car. That is the Guinness Book of World Record. For how many people you can fit in a smart car. It happened in Pakistan, and it beat the previous record of 18 from Australia.
Oh, Australians, I didn't think you could get into small spaces, but there you go. That's something you learn every day. Now and again, a major automotive celebrity comes to town, and we manage to drag them into the studio. That is exactly what's happened this weekend. Automotive journalist Aaron Gold from cars.about.com is here, and other major outlets as well. Welcome to Test Miles. Why are you gracing us with your presence in Portland?
Well, because I love Portland, actually, and I spend as much time as here. I live in Los Angeles, and Portland's a really nice getaway. You know, we don't see rain very often. I was actually in town earlier this week.
The tourist attraction in Portland is the rain.
It's the rain.
Oh, wow, I didn't know.
It's when you live in the San Fernando Valley, rain is a serious novelty.
All right.
I've actually been to Portland twice. Once to drive the Smart, and once to drive the Lexus RX.
All right.
Speaking of how many people you can stuff
both
in
of
the
those
Smart.
times in the last 2
weeks.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about you. Because I like to do that.
Well, thank you. I like fine dining and classical music and long strolls on the beach, Nick.
Excellent. Do you like holding hands?
I do.
Let's talk about the jury. So they call it the NACTOID jury, the North American Car and Truck Jury. You're a member of that jury.
I am a juror of the North American Car and Truck of the Year. That's correct.
So you're one of the people responsible for choosing that vehicle, and your season is ramping up now. The car will be announced at the Detroit Auto Show, and the truck will be announced at the Detroit Auto Show. So you start to look at what's going on and what's available right now. Take us through the process of how you get to choose those vehicles.
Well, basically, we have a long list, which is pretty much every vehicle that is significantly new in a 1 year time period. The long list is pretty much open to everything. We whittle that down to a short list of what's our number? I think it's around. I got to look at my notes. It's usually 10 to 12 vehicles in each category.
So that's car and truck.
Car and truck, yeah.
Right.
Basically, the way we vote down to the short list, we have 25 points that we're given. We can give any number of points to any car. We're a maximum of 10 points per vehicle. So, and we're encouraged because at this point in the selection process, and we're just about to vote on the long list vehicles to get down to the short list. At this point, we may not have driven everything, so we're encouraged to kind of give benefit of the doubt to vehicles that we think have a lot of potential. And then once we have our short list, which are our semifinalists, then we have what's called Hell Week, where we get all these vehicles together in Hell, Michigan, and we drive them all. And then we narrow down to I'm looking at my cheat sheet again because this is only my second year on the jury. Right. And from there we narrow down, and that's where we get our finalists, and then eventually
is that
vote for
three?
We narrow down to 3, and then from there we vote for the winning car and the winning truck or utility.
All right. So final question on this topic: what's significant this year that you are looking at?
Oh gosh, well, cars, it's difficult. We have so many cars coming out, and everybody's pushing their introductions till late in the year. So I think it's really kind of hard to kind of predict where the cars are going to go. Certainly having a new MX-5, a new Mazda MX-5. I mean, it's really hard to argue with that. We drove that a couple weeks ago, and it's just such an excellent execution of that two-seat roadster concept. They've really done a nice job with that. But there's a lot of promising cars. Interestingly, we were talking about this, you and I, offline, that we're both really interested in the new Malibu.
Yeah.
Because that car has been, it hasn't really hit the sweet spot, but the Impala is so promising. Over on the truck and SUV side, two that I particularly like, one is the Jeep Renegade. I just love that thing. I mean, it's just got so much personality, and it's a nice blend of utility, useful features, and Volvo, the XC90. I think with that kind of tablet thing, I don't know if you've talked about that vehicle on the show. They have this great kind of touchscreen tablet at the center of the car. And, we complain as journalists, we complain a lot about the complexity of using these secondary infotainment systems.
Yeah.
And I feel like Volvo's really kind of cracked the code by making something that works like a tablet. They've pretty much moved the learning curve out of the vehicle, and into your homes. If you can use your iPod, or you can use your iPad, or you can use an Android tablet, you can pretty much turn on the air conditioner in the Volvo.
Right. I mean, I really love those two. I think you're right on the money. I also really like the new Nissan Maxima. I think that's a great car as well on the car side.
I really like the styling of that car. The Maxima feels like it's kind of been floating in the ether a bit. It doesn't really have a place because you can get such a nice Altima. Nissan seems to be, to me, hit or miss with their styling. And I'm one of about 4 people on the face of the planet who thinks the Juke is... I like the Juke because at least it looks different. Yeah. I'm so tired of cars that look the same. I think that Maxima looks really, really cool.
What's funny is we agree on so much except styling, Aaron and I. He was talking about the cars he really liked, and they all happened to make my ugliest car list last night, the Juke being one of them. Love the vehicle vehicle. Love the C-Max, great vehicle. Also love several other things like the Prius and the little Buick. Is it the Encore?
The Encore,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, the tiny one. But they all made my list of ugliest cars.
Yeah, they're not necessarily. Encore's not the prettiest, but it's a really useful little product. That car doesn't get enough credit, I think.
All right. Well, let's turn our eyes to a couple of the other things that you've been doing in town here. You got to drive the Smart as I did around Portland.
Yes.
Let me get your impressions of the new Mercedes Smart.
Well, first of all, I could do U-turns in that car all day long, especially because I didn't know Portland all that well. So we did a lot of U-turns.
22.8 turning radius.
It's
right?
ridiculously small. It's like a puppy, that curves its back around and turns around in its own,
space.
length.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about the Smart, I mean, they've improved everything about that car. I think they've fixed pretty much every single complaint except the fuel economy and the fact that it still requires premium gas. So it's not that fuel efficient, but it's still a two-seat car with a tiny little trunk. So, that concept is very useful in Europe where there's no parking. It's great in a city like Portland because here you really embrace the kind of the half parking spot thing. But for us in Los Angeles, it's just not that useful.
Right. And they have actually picked 5 cities where they feel it would be a good car to own, and Portland is one of them. That's probably why they did the launch here.
Yeah, they have 1 billion of them running around with the Car2Go program that you have here.
Well, I love the look of the new one, by the way, especially the color combination. Let's talk a little bit about the Lexus RX, which you have driven. I get to drive that in North Carolina next month. How do you feel about that?
Well, I really liked it. That was an interesting one because, the RX has kind of always been their most conservative product, and it sells to a fairly conservative audience, for lack of a better word. These are Lexus loyalists. They're looking for, Toyota or Lexus reliability. They're looking for SUV utility. They're not looking for something that's cutting-edge styling. They put this gigantic spool-shaped grill on the front of the thing, which is...
Spindle, they call it, right?
The spindle grill. I think spool. It begins with an SP. That's close enough for me. By the way, have I mentioned that I write for a living, and using words are how I make my money.
You're a word user.
But I really love the car. I like the way it drives. To me, not every luxury car has to try to be a BMW. To me, there's something to be said for a quiet, comfortable luxury car. And what Lexus has done is they've expanded the F-Sport line to both the RX 350 and the RX Hybrid. And both of them have F-Sport versions. So you can get something that's comfortable and quiet in the standard car. You can get something that's quite a bit more aggressive, Toyota's version of aggressive, which is not exactly, BMW's version of aggressive, in the F-Sport line. It's really nicely executed vehicle.
I think it looks like they've done a good job. I will tell you, and in addition to that is they were always great cars. They were always well put together. They were always well maintained. They were always really reliable. But there was this long period with Lexus where there was no soul to the exterior. They were very boring. And I think with the NX and with the RS, what's the little sports car called?
The IS.
The
RC.
RCF. And then with this, the RX, they've finally got some design cues there that have passion involved in them. I think.
We'll see if that resonates with the buyers.
Absolutely. That's what's all about, the almighty dollars. You're listening to Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL. When we come back, the big news stories of the week. I'm Nick Miles.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com. It's Test Miles on FM News 101.
You're with Test Miles, America's automotive radio show, at Test Miles on Twitter. Get some more fun facts and all the latest car news. Double J, Pacific Waterland, a VW and Audi car show is planned for September 13th at Woodburn Drag Strip. It is the Pacific Northwest's largest and most anticipated European car show. General admission $15, $10 for kids, 6 and under are free. If you want to go to the show and bring your car, it's $25. If you want to do drag racing, it's $50. We encourage you to attend. For more information, it is pacificwaterland.net.
Here's a fun fact. In 1925, Chrysler was built from the remains of what once was known as Maxwell Motor Company.
Oh, I never even heard of Maxwell Motor Company.
Well, you don't
Were they high on caffeine? Were they? they all jacked on caffeine?
Jack Benny famously drove, that was his car, was the Maxwell. And Mel Blanc, who was the voice of Bugs Bunny and all the characters in those cartoons, he was also the voice of the Maxwell.
Really?
There's got to be something on YouTube of him doing it.
Here's the deal. I'm not 70 and I don't come from LA, so I really wouldn't know that. This week's been some interesting week with automotive stories. Our crack team of reporters has put together a list of some of the best stories. Starting with Mr. Aaron Gold, what have you found that's tickled your fancy?
Well, the one I found intriguing is that Jaguar, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Jaguar
is cutting prices. They're cutting chopping about $5,300 from the price of the XF. They're about to introduce the XE, which is going to come in under $36,000 with destination fee. The XJ, which I've actually always thought is a really good value compared to the S Class and the 7 Series. That one, they're keeping the price the same, about $75,000, but they're adding a lot more standard equipment. Same with the F-Type. The F-Type convertible and coupe, they are really expensive cars, but they're keeping the price the same. They're adding a lot more standard equipment. And I think it's important when you're kind of an up-and-coming luxury brand to sort of buy market share. And I think I wish Lincoln would do that. Lincoln has great cars, but they charge too much money for a brand that really is not well established. Yep. So I think that's smart. Jag's selling, like 10,000 cars a year. So,
which Mitsubishi is selling like 7,500.
Yeah, they're right on their heels. And they've upped the warranty to I think they're up to 5 years. I have it in my notes.
It was 4 years.
Yeah, they've gone up to 5 years, 60,000 miles, which is no one's going to lease the car for that long.
Right.
And they really make a beautiful interior and a really nice
I would
product.
actually agree with you. Jaguar are a very underrated car. And we should be buying more of them. And my friends at the Monty Shelton Jaguar dealership down the road are now jumping up and down and cheering. Go in and see them. They'll be happy to help you. I do believe that they are one of the most underrated cars, and the XJ is probably my favorite car in the class.
I really like it. I mean, they don't have the fancy, the S-Class and the 7 Series have like the perfumer that makes the interior smell and the night vision camera. Right. XJ doesn't have some of the real cutting-edge show-off to your neighbors kind of technology, but if you're just looking for something, just this oasis to surround yourself with leather and wood. It's a Jaguar. Leather and wood, love. It's not the done thing, darling.
No, it's not. Sean, what do you got?
Barracuda's coming back as a Dodge nameplate, though. There's been rumor that they're going to bring back the Barracuda as an SRT, but since the SRT brand now is kind of merged with all the other brands again, Barracuda will be a Dodge.
Well, that's kind of interesting because they're all about that revival. I think they can do very little wrong right now at Dodge. Because of the Hellcat and the halo that's created, they basically can bring out almost anything, and everybody's going to say, is there a 707 horsepower version? Because I'll buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Barracuda fan my whole life, so when this actually comes out, I probably will be on the list of buying one.
Really?
Yes.
Are you going to dump the Corvette?
No, I'm going to keep the Corvette. I'm just going to sell your kidney or something.
My kidney? All right.
Well, I need mine.
Wouldn't I get the car then? Doesn't that how that works?
That doesn't how it works.
I'm selling a kidney. I'm taking the car. I'll have you know.
As a Chrysler guy, that's a little hard to get used to, though. It's a Plymouth Barracuda.
Yeah, I understand that.
Barracuda.
And I totally agree with you. But, still Barracuda name is just awesome.
It would be nice to see.
If I had the money, I would literally, my dream would be to take like a Roadrunner and put it all on the new Hellcat engine platform, just have the body.
Plymouth doesn't have baggage either, though, so you could bring that brand back and it wouldn't have any baggage.
The Plymouth Breeze. There's no baggage there whatsoever.
No, but the baggage of anybody that's going to buy one.
See, it's funny you should say that because my dream is to take a brand new Challenger SRT and put an original twin 4-barrel 426 Hemi in it, so I can't start it and it won't warm up until I've driven it, basically from Portland to Seattle and back. That's my dream.
Oh, that'll take you about 6 hours. That's fun. All right. Anybody else got any news stories? No, good. No, we got a couple other things we want to talk about. Coming up in the next few weeks, we are going to be doing the new Toyota Prius chat. There is going to be a Prius unveiled in Vegas. You're going to be there, right, Aaron?
I am going to be there.
So Tuesday night, the new Prius will be unveiled. This is a really interesting car because they lost huge amounts of money on bringing this car to the United States or bringing it anywhere in the world. And it wasn't until the third generation that Toyota started to actually make money. But now there really isn't any competition for this vehicle. So a new generation of this vehicle is going to spark a whole lot of new interest.
I think they're going to stay well ahead of the curve, and that's smart. You know, a lot of journalists deride the Prius as the anti-car and sort of, against everything we stand for. But I actually always enjoy driving a Prius because one thing they've always done well is you get in that car. 10 years ago, you got in that car and you could say to yourself, okay, I am driving the future. And even today, 10 years later, after that second generation came out, it still kind of gives you that feeling. And they legitimately get 47, 48 miles per gallon.
Yeah, I've got well into the 50s and I've not been hypermiling the vehicle. So
yeah. It delivers. It's one of those. What do they say in England? Does what it says on the tin.
Yes, does what it says on the tin every time. Unfortunately, they're not made of tin, but thank goodness. I think the look of this new Prius will depend on whether people will be embracing it more than they have. Because the biggest problem with the car.
Looks like a door wedge.
Yes, it looks like a door wedge. I would love it. It was a little bit more romantic.
Let's try to keep them in the right lane if we can, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big must.
No hypermiling in the passing lane.
You're just a Prius hater, aren't you, Ollie? Thank you for listening to Test Miles. We'll be back again next week with a lot of delicious stuff. Until then, 24 hours, 7 days a week. TestMiles.com is available. And we'll see you next week with more fun-filled stuff on the show. Thank you to Aaron Gold from cars.about.com for being here. Go read his articles because he gets paid every time you click on them. And also Oli and Sean and Jenya and Brad, thanks for being here. We'll be back next week with another delicious show. I'm Nick Miles.